Hello, Amir. So today I'm going to go over the lab 6 and I'm going to go over the answers that I submitted for this assignment. So same as before, we had a few preliminary questions that we had to answer before moving on. And we can define interpretation as an assignment of values to all the variables. And another way of defining it is that interpretation assigns a truth value to each atom. And basically it can be true or false. Now, another way of defining a model is that it's an interpretation that satisfies a constraint, and a model can also be defined as a set of clauses is an interpretation in which all the clauses are true. Now, for a proposition to be entailed by a knowledge base, as we have learned before, a knowledge base is essentially a set of definite clauses, and an entail refers to a logical consequence. So, for a proposition to be entailed by a knowledge base, for every setting of the propositional variables for which the knowledge base is true, and that means the proposition is also true. And that's when we can say that it's entailed by the knowledge base. And so what does it mean for a proof procedure to be sound? So I just began by just giving a definition of proof, and it's essentially a mechanically derivable demonstration that a formula logically follows from a knowledge base. And essentially, we can say that the proof procedure is sound if, for example, in this case, that G can be derived from the knowledge base, and if so, it implies then that G is true in all models of the KB. Now, for a proof procedure to be complete, it's essentially the vice versa for a procedure to be sound. So essentially, for it to be complete, in this case again G, it means that if G is true in all models of KB, then it implies that G can also be derived from the knowledge base. And here's where the real assignment begins. So essentially, we're given a few truth values and 4 interpretations. And this is our knowledge base. So the best way, since we had a similar one when we were actually learning the presentation, we were learning that the third one over here in this case is important because it means that C has to be true. So right off the bat, we can see that it's false in the first interpretation. So essentially, we can just disregard that interpretation. And that's why I say that it's not a model of KB. Now, the second interpretation, C, is true, so that's good. That means we can move on. And B implies A, so true implies true. That's okay. However, true implies false. That is not correct. So that's why we say that it is not a model of KB. Now, the third interpretation, C is true, so that's good. And B implies A, so essentially true implies false. Again, that is correct. C implies D. True implies true, that's correct. But again, since B implies A is incorrect for this one, we have to say that it is not a model of KB. Then we come to the last interpretation. So over here, again, C is true, so that's good. B implies A, so false implies false, that is correct. True implies true. For C implies D, that is also correct. So we can essentially say that it is a model of KB. And then we're given a few entailments over here. And in this case, the first two will not be true. So essentially, for it to be true, it has to be true in all models of KB. So in this case, in our case, we only have one model. And essentially here, it basically just means that A and B are false. So essentially, it is not. And this is the only model of KB again. So we can say that no, it is not true. However, C and D are true over here. And that is why we can say yes, it is true in all models of KB. And this assignment was very helpful because it just gives you an idea of how models and different knowledge bases work. Again, we will be handed a few different knowledge bases, but again, it does help how it works in each situation. And yeah, so that's why this lab was very helpful in getting the concepts clear. Thank you, Amir.